Hey fellow pirates, Explorer Ranger here, and welcome to my Salt 2 beginner tips and tricks. In this video, I'm going to cover off some of the more basic stuff here at the beginning of the game that will hopefully help you going through the journeys of Salt 2. So without further ado, let's get to today's video, shall we? So tip number one has absolutely nothing to do with the in-game mechanics, but I wanted to share it because I feel like it's a good idea as you progress through the game of Salt 2. And it's actually just to basically keep a ledger or notes on all the different islands that you have. If you've got some scrap paper or book or something. As you can see, I mean, well, within distance here, there's 4 islands that you can see outright. And if you look at the map, well, I've already uncovered several different islands, and I know there's a ton more to go. So having some notes handy to be able to say what islands have what on them, including where the Marauders Guild is, as well as any seaports, things like that will help you to be able to go back, and especially when you are traveling from island to island. All right, and so these next few tips have basically to do with the in-game mechanics of Salt 2. So let's say, for instance, I pull out my mace here, and then I switch to something like my bow. If you are running along, and even if you have nothing in your hands, and you want to do like a quick go back to a certain weapon, all you have to do is hit R, and it will bring you right back to the weapon that you previously had equipped. Now with that, you can also use R within the game if you were to have put down, say, an item, a table, anything like that, and you weren't happy with where you had it, or you wanted to redecorate your ship and move it somewhere else. If you come up here and if you hit R to toggle, you can now see that my E button here switched to retrieve. So if I hit E, I can actually take my item and I can replace it anywhere on my ship that I want to. All right, and in speaking with retrieving stuff from your ship, if you wanted to not just pick up one item, but let's say you wanted to pick up all the items off of your ship, there is a way to do that as well too. So if you went into your inventory, and if you went to your ship, so let's say for instance, all my stuff is on the wave skipper, all I have to do is open it up, come down to here, and I can hit retrieve decorations. And basically remove all the decorations from your boat back to your inventory. So put all back in your inventory, and then you'll be able to redistribute it however you see fit. And while you're running around in the world of Salt 2, be sure to be on the lookout on each of the different islands, around the beaches and the inlet pools for clamshells. Each of the clamshells have a potential to drop a different tiered quality of pearl, and those pearls can be sold at local vendors for quite a bit of gold. Okay, so this next tip is a combat tip for you. So with the bow, because you have limited arrows, let's say you roll up on something like, for instance, this golden boar, and you pull out your bow and you go for your first shot, and let's say you happen to miss it. If you were to come around to where you shot your arrow, you can actually just come back and retrieve it. Now, it doesn't work on the ones that you use that actually hit your target. Those ones will disappear. But any ones that you've missed, you can always go and try to find it and retrieve your arrow back. Further to this, let's say you're walking around and you want to actually save on your arrows, or you don't have any arrows in your inventory. Well, you can also try a melee attack as well too. So if you were to come up behind a creature, deer, boar, bear, otherwise, and you were able to come from far enough with a melee weapon out, and you hit your crouch button, you'll actually be able to get up in behind the creature and hit them with your melee weapon, and it'll still do the surprise damage from them not seeing you. You just have to be mindful that you come at them at a good enough angle, far enough away, with a little bit of patience to not startle your enemy. And now to touch on seaports within the game of Salt 2. A couple of tips that you're going to want to keep in mind while you are running around playing the game of Salt 2, and you're finding yourself coming across multiple different seaports. Usually at the seaport, most of everything will stay the same in terms of the merchants and buildings and things that you can access. However, there is something that is different between each seaport, and that is the job boards. Now, this is important because every seaport has a job board to it that has 4 jobs on it, which are sub-quests that you can pick up and turn in and get yourself access to some really great loot. You don't have to go back to the original Seaport in order to turn in those quests. You merely have to have access to a mailbox, which you can find at any seaport, or you can actually take advantage of picking up the blueprint and building one on your ship. And so something that you're going to want to keep in mind when it comes to the job boards is that every seaport has one, and you can take advantage of every seaport you go to picking up 4 new quests. You have to just keep in mind that every time you go to a new job board at a seaport, you need to finish that quest, turn it in, and then the next seaport you can go and pick up a subsequent job of the same type of caliber. The other difference between seaports that you'll want to take advantage of as well too is that in every seaport there's a tavern. In every tavern is a little trap door in the corner of the building that you can access and go down into and pick up a bunch of different looted items out of there. So when it comes to seaports, as you're running around, you'll find that you can't really loot any of the items there, not like while you're out in the wild. However, with the little trap door and sub basement of the tavern, you can have access to picking up a bunch of items there. And every different seaport has different items in it. So you're going to want to make sure to take advantage of picking up some of those goodies. You can also find some good blueprints out of them. All right, and so some of these last tips I have for you guys here within the game of Salt 2 are going to be to do with caves. While you're running around the game, you're going to come across many different caves, and inside of them, you're going to want to be on the lookout for a couple of different things. The first of which is these giant boulder cluster formations. And what's important about them is that when you're coming across the different walls within the caves and you're on the lookout for these, keep a lookout for spots where there's actually like an off-colored crack that runs through the boulders. This will indicate that behind these boulders is a secret room with some good loot and treasure to them. All you gotta do is pull out your pickaxe and go to town, hitting them until they break. Further to finding these little back rooms, these hidden rooms behind some of these boulders, you're going to want to keep a lookout and kind of do some good scouting as you're running through the caves along the edges of the caves. The reason why I say that is because not every hidden spot or hidden treasure chest is behind a breakable boulder. Sometimes you'll be running along and you'll actually find a little bit of a hidden sort of crack or a slight little indent that sticks out that you can tuck in behind. And in behind some of those is going to be some really nice treasure chests. And if you do happen to be running around and you find that you get yourself stuck while you're looking around for some of these hidden areas, you simply have to go into your hit an escape button, go into the menu, and at the bottom you're going to find a button that basically you can click that brings you right back to the very beginning of the cave. So you don't have to fret if you get stuck somewhere. All right, and lastly, to do with caves, you guys, you're going to want to be on the lookout for mushrooms. Mushrooms come in different types of tier qualities, and you can find the lower tier ones are usually pretty common. Running around, you can pick them up off the ground as you're running through the caves. But that being said, the higher tier quality ones, you're going to have to do a little bit of looking for them, and knowing where to look definitely helps. So as you're running around the caves, you're going to find sometimes you'll come across these little flatter rocks that you can jump up onto that are a little higher up. Make sure that you're checking those often, because that is where you're going to find your higher tier quality mushrooms. All right, pirates, that is going to be it for my video for today, and all I have for you for beginner tips right at the moment. With that, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have a tip that you know of that I didn't cover off in this video that you want to share, please drop a comment down below and share it there. With that, if you can please leave a like on this video, that would be amazing. I greatly appreciate it, and it would help me out immensely to get this out there, share some of these tips. So with that, hope you guys all have an awesome day, and hope to see you guys in the next video.